Welcome to the next lesson in the Amazing Selling Machine, Finding and Contacting Suppliers. And here's what we're going to be covering: how to find suppliers for your top product opportunities, how many suppliers you need to contact for each product, and how to sound like a pro in order to get the best pricing and the best quality. Now, this is where your business gets real, because up until now, everything that you've done has just been with you and your computer. Now it's time to use the power of technology and the internet to speak with real people all over the world. And don't worry, thousands of other people have done this with no experience at all before you. And our proven templates and our training will make sure that you know exactly what to say and when to say it. So at this point, you should have your top 3 product opportunities identified, and we'll want to reach out and find suppliers for each one of these. And once we get this information back, not all the products may work out, and that's totally normal. That sometimes happens. Maybe you're not getting the right quantities or right pricing that you want, and if that happens, that's okay. It's part of the process. You'll want to contact between 5 and 10 suppliers for each one of your product opportunities, and the goal is to get your initial pricing, minimum order quantity levels, production time, and what type of packaging options are available for you. And then you'll use this information to pick just one product to order samples for, and that one product will be your final top product opportunity. Now, in order to make sure you know exactly what to say to your potential suppliers, we're providing you with our very own simple product sourcing templates that tell you exactly what you need to ask in order to get the information that you need, all the way from ordering samples and getting pricing to actually placing your order. So these templates include the initial supplier contact message, the sample order message, the product and packaging options message, the price negotiation message, the pre-order message, and the inventory order message. And you can access all of these below this video by clicking on the document icon. You'll actually see the lesson guide PDF, which has an overview of this entire lesson, and you'll see a Word document that contains all of these templates in one downloadable file. So you can go through them and cut and paste these messages as necessary. Now, you may not need to use all these messages, and there may be times that you simply combine things together. For example, when you're talking about packaging, you might also want to talk about the prices as well. So don't feel like you're limited, that you have to separate all your communications out this way. We're just giving you all the messages that we think you might need for this process. It's important to keep the following in mind. Do not just copy these templates word for word and then send them to your suppliers. If you do that, it might cause your messages to look like spam and potentially be ignored by your supplier. Because if hundreds of people are sending the exact same message, sometimes Alibaba or other email systems may look at these and think that they're just spam. What you want to do is, after you copy and paste them into your messages or in your emails, you'll want to be sure to include your own details, such as your name, the product you're looking for, and the company that you have created for yourself. And then we suggest slightly modifying them so that the message is slightly different. Put it in your own words, your own terms, add something into it. You can keep the main part of the message the same to make sure that you get all the information that you need, but feel free, and we suggest, to slightly modify these messages a little bit to really make them your own. Now, before we head over to our browser and start looking, let's do a quick recap of where we should be looking for products based upon the type of products that we are sourcing. For health, beauty, and cleaning products, you'll want to source in the USA or the EU and using Google to do your search. These are anything that might go in your body or on your skin. Some examples are creams, gels, vitamins, supplements, carpet cleaners. And remember, the USA does have the largest number of suppliers and products in these categories, but if you live in the EU, it also makes sense to check there as well. Now, for everything else, you'll most likely source outside the USA or EU using Alibaba.com. And these will mostly come from China, and these are products that are usually just too expensive to make anywhere else. And keep in mind one thing I mentioned earlier: you might be able to find some products on Alibaba.com that are made in the USA. So feel free to check that out as well. Now, when searching for suppliers using Google, here's some tips to keep in mind. You want to search for your product name in quotes and then follow it by one of these terms. Private label, and that's the first one you should always look for. Then suppliers. And if you're not getting enough results, you can also put the word wholesale behind it as well, if you're not getting enough results just using private label or suppliers. Here's an example. If you're looking for car wash shampoo, you want to start off by putting that in quotes to make sure that all the results showing up have the words car wash shampoo exactly like that. And then you put the word private label behind it, and it'll also find sites that have the words private label on their website. Now, if you start seeing too many results from sites that you don't want to see, such as overseas suppliers, and you're really trying to source in the United States, you can remove those results by adding the term -site:"site name, where site name is their website name, at the end of your search. Let me show you an example here. If you're looking for a car wash shampoo, you again search for car wash shampoo in quotes, put the words private label, and then -site:"Alibaba.com in order to filter out all or at least most of the results from Alibaba. Now, oftentimes you'll get results from Amazon, and you don't want to see those because we're looking for private label suppliers. You can also put right behind that -site:"Amazon.com as well to remove the results from the search results. Here are some tips when searching for suppliers on Alibaba. In order to limit the supplier search down to only the companies that are most trusted, you can use a filter on something called supplier types. And the first one you want to check is for gold supplier. And when you check this filter, you'll only see those suppliers that are gold suppliers, which means they pay a monthly fee to be a part of Alibaba. And they're also held to a higher standard on Alibaba, which means that if they get too many complaints, they can not only lose their gold supplier status, they could potentially also be taken off Alibaba altogether. So by checking this, you will be filtered down to a much higher standard of suppliers. Now, the next one you can filter on are those suppliers that participate in trade assurance. And this means that these suppliers have agreed to let Alibaba hold any money you might pay them for the products until the products are actually shipped out and until you're satisfied with whatever terms you both agree to in your trade assurance agreement. It's important that if you do use trade assurance, that you and your supplier clearly lay out exactly what you expect, such as when your products are to be shipped, what type of quality they should have. Do you need to get an inspection on them before they're shipped? All those details need to be laid out in your trade assurance agreement with your supplier. Now, keep in mind that just by checking this box doesn't mean that you're agreeing to use trade assurance. It just means that the suppliers you'll be shown will or have used trade assurance and will do that if you choose to ask them to do that. Now, there is another filter that you might see as well. Now, in our examples in this training, you'll see it a lot, but if you go to Alibaba right now, it's on and off. It seems like they might even be removing this filter, but it's called on-site checked. And what it used to mean was that Alibaba has verified that the suppliers you're seeing are legitimate suppliers in one of two ways. Either they've visited them on site, they've actually had someone go out and make sure that they really do have a plant there, or they verified them by using a third party who goes through and looks at all their legal documents to make sure that their business is set up correctly. Now, again, when you go and look at Alibaba, chances are you're not going to see this as a filter at the top anymore. I believe Alibaba is filtering it out, and you might see it on the left-hand side, but if you do, it does not seem to be doing anything. So I would simply ignore the on-site checked for now and only use the gold supplier and trade assurance filters going forward. Even if some of the videos you see later on where it's still there for me, ignore the on-site checked altogether for now. Now, when reaching out to your suppliers, you should always use the Contact Supplier button inside of Alibaba, especially for your first couple of contacts. And the reason is because you want to make sure that everything that you and your supplier are agreeing to is in writing and inside one place in Alibaba. So if you ever have any problems at all, Alibaba, the company, can see those messages to know exactly what's been going on. Now, once you actually get to know your supplier better and feel more comfortable, feel free later on at some point in time to switch over to Skype or WhatsApp or anything that makes you feel comfortable. It's just the initial contacts when getting quotes, when agreeing to your first contract. We highly recommend keeping all that communication inside of Alibaba using the Contact Supplier button. Now, if you are using Alibaba's trade assurance, like we talked about, be sure to also use Alibaba's quoting and ordering service. That means that your supplier, once you agree to what you're going to order and the prices, they will put together a quote for you inside of Alibaba. Then you go into Alibaba and you will either approve or ask them to change the quote, and you'll see everything there right in writing on Alibaba. And if you approve it, then you and your supplier are agreeing to all the details in there, and that way Alibaba will know what has to be accomplished from your supplier side in order for them to actually release the funds to your supplier. It's very important when using trade assurance that you use Alibaba's quoting and ordering service. Otherwise, again, you might not get all the protections that you normally would when using Alibaba's trade assurance. And now we're ready to start sourcing. You want to be sure to capture all the information that we'll be gathering inside of your product opportunity spreadsheet. So let's get started so I can show you exactly how easy this is. Now, the first thing I want to do is do a quick overview of the product opportunity spreadsheet that you've been working with. And you'll notice that I'm on the first tab, and we have the top 3 product opportunities that Rich Henderson helped you narrow your list down to. Now, I've also added in a 4th one, and the reason for that is because these top 3 opportunities, those all look like they would be sourced from China using Alibaba, and I also want to show you how to find a product in the United States, and so I've added in a 4th one. It's an organic shampoo. I'll show you what it looks like right here. Now, this may or may not fit all the criteria. I just want to make sure that I had a product that we could actually source in the United States, such as a health and beauty or cleaning product. And this one fit most of the criteria for what I wanted to show. So this is the example we will be using. Now, as we work through our spreadsheet, we'll be capturing all kinds of information. It may seem a little complicated, but it really isn't. It's just a little bit more time consuming to make sure that you capture everything and put it in the right place. On this first tab, we will be capturing for each product the information for 3 different suppliers. So on the first product, as we scroll over, you'll notice that we have this yellow section that is going to give us, or where we're going to put the final numbers we get from supplier number 1. We'll get the price from supplier number 1, the import and shipping cost to get that product sent from them to wherever we're selling. We'll use 20 cents as an estimate for an inspection service. We're going to estimate the UPS fees to get the product to Amazon. We're also going to include another 20 cents for FBA label service, which will then automatically give us the true cost. And then we're going to put in here a figure that we will pull out of the FBA revenue tool that we went through in a couple modules or a couple lessons before, in order to finally get the net profit margin for this one product from this one supplier. Now, don't worry, I'm going to walk you through how to do all these. But we're also going to do the exact same thing for the same product for a second supplier, and that'll go in this green section. And then we'll do it for the third supplier as well. And that way we can really compare and see the differences in our profit margins from 3 different suppliers. We will be contacting 5 to 10 suppliers for each product, but not all of them are going to get back with us. And some of them may come back with prices or information that we just don't really want to even concern ourselves with. We want to make sure that we narrow down from those 5 to 10 the top 3 suppliers for each product and enter that information here on the first tab so that we can easily compare them. So that's 3 different suppliers on this first tab for the first product. And then for the second product, we'll do the same thing, get the information back from 3 different suppliers and put it into the spreadsheet, and so forth down to our third product opportunity as well. Now, as we're contacting our suppliers, there's actually more information that we want to get or keep track of other than what's on this final first tab, such as who we contact, their website, their email address, any notes of things we may have talked about along the way. And in order for us to track that information, we've created a tab down here at the bottom, you get to them, for each of our top 3 product opportunities. There's a tab for product number 1, product number 2, and product number 3. And if we go through and look at each one of these tabs, you'll notice that each one has a place for us to put just the basic information, the product URL, keyword, category, so forth and so forth. Everything is copied over from this first tab, the product opportunity spreadsheet. Everything you see here is copied over. And so we go back to the product 1 tab and we look, scroll to the right, you'll notice everything is copied over up here as well. Now this tab on our spreadsheet is just for this one product, and that way we have more room to keep other information from each supplier. So here is the section for the first supplier like we looked at on the first tab, but we have more room here below it to keep track of other information, such as our contact's name, their email, their Skype if we need that, where they're located, a website if they have that, and then I like to keep track of any timeline notes. So if I contact them on a certain date, I'll put it here. If they respond on another date, I'll put it here. If I ask them a few specific questions, I'll put it here and keep going down and down. And if I need more room, I can simply insert more rows here in order to keep adding in more information. But then at the end, for each product and each supplier, down here is where I can then capture some of our more critical information that we'll be using to get a better estimated total cost of the product. So the initial quote will be how much they're going to charge us per unit. Then the initial MOQ will be how many units is the minimum we have to order. And then these next sections down here are going to be information that we need in order to estimate our importing or shipping costs. So how many units come per carton? So if we're ordering 100 units of a product, they may ship them in 10 different cartons. And that means that each carton has 10 units in it. And we'll need that for the shipping costs. So we'll also need to know the dimensions of that carton. So if that carton may come with 10 bottles of shampoo, and the dimensions would be, 17 inches by 13 inches by 12 inches. It can be in inches, it can be in centimeters, whatever they give it to you in, it's totally fine because we can convert that and use that when coming up with our own shipping estimate. And then you'll need to know the weight per carton as well. And that way when we're done, we'll know how many cartons we have, the dimensions of each, and also the weight per carton, and we're going to use a tool in order to estimate the shipping costs then. If you want to see exactly what this looks like as someone had really entered the information, I have an example tab on here. This was for a product we looked at one time, a rabbit corkscrew. Don't recommend that right now. It's a little competitive, but here's information that we got from our supplier. We put in the information such as the price, import, shipping cost, the inspection fees, everything that we talked about before. And then here was information from the supplier, their name, the contact name, email, Skype, where they were located, their website. And then I just showed how I was keeping track of the timeline. I ordered samples on this date, they arrived on this date. I did find that they worked pretty well. And then I made some notes on what I did or did not like about the sample. So that way, when I went and compared it to the other samples I got from the other two suppliers, I could much more easily determine which one was the best for me. And then down here, you'll notice this is where I kept the information on their quote, how many I had to order, how many came per carton, the dimensions, the weight per carton, and then what was the total import shipping estimate that we were able to gather. So this is the information that you will be entering as we go through and find our suppliers. So as you go through, let's do one thing again. Let's go back to the main sheet and let's look at our 3 examples. So in this example, we have a lightweight sleeping pad as our first product. So I'm going to go down here to our tab and I'm going to change the name for that. I'm going to put this as sleeping pad. So I know that is going to be where I'm going to collect all the information that I get from the suppliers on the sleeping pad. And keep in mind, this first line we always keep there is just an example so that you can look up there and see exactly how you put the numbers in. Now, the next product was the battery operated salt and pepper scent. So I'm going to make product number 2 be the salt and pepper set. And then the third product was the defrosting tray. So we're going to go over here and rename this defrosting tray. All right. So now these are the tabs that I'll be entering the information as we go through and do our research. So let's start off and let's go source this shampoo just as an example to show you how we'll do this for a product that we can source on Google. So I'm going to copy our keyword, organic shampoo, and then I'm going to go over to Google. I'm going to put that into quotes and follow up by the words private label to start out with. And we have lots of different listings showing up for private label opportunities here. You'll notice some of these are ads. That means that companies are advertising their private label services. That's totally fine. If they want to go ahead and spend money and advertise because we're the type of customers they're looking for, those are definitely companies to look at. So what I'm going to do is highlight the link for each one, right mouse click, and open that into a new tab. And I'll get back to that in a few minutes. Here's another Genesis private label. Let's do the same thing. Open that into a new tab. I'm going to keep scrolling down. I don't want product labeling machine. It probably doesn't make sense. Here's another one, NV Hair Care. Let's pull that up into a tab. I'm going to just keep going down on the first page here. Now, here's an interesting thing. You'll notice that we are seeing results show up from Alibaba. Now, I'm not going to just ignore it completely. I'm going to open that into a separate tab. We'll check that out later as well. And then you remember there may be some companies from the United States listed on Alibaba. So we'll check those out in a few minutes. Then I'm going to keep going down. And now I'm starting to see other listings on Alibaba. This one right here, I don't really want to see too many of the listings showing up on the same search results. So let me show you what we can do to get those removed now. Simply going to go to our existing search, put in the word -site: Alibaba.com, and we'll repeat our search and I'll show you what happens. So now as we scroll down, you'll notice that the Alibaba listings have went away. So I'm okay seeing one of them because I do want to check them out. But if I started seeing a whole bunch of individual suppliers from Alibaba showing up in my search results, I would not want to see them. Same thing, if I saw a bunch of listings on Amazon, I could also put in -site: Amazon.com as well. I can repeat the search and that'll make sure that none of those show up. Okay, so we'll continue on through our search here and see if there's any other ones we want to look at. And remember, we want to at least look at 5 to 10 different suppliers. I'm not going to go through that many here because you don't need to see me do this. It'll be the same for each individual supplier. But I want to go down and see if there's any other ones that I want to look at their website. Here we go. Private label spa shop, all natural and wellness spa products. Let's definitely take a look at that one. And one thing to keep in mind is that don't just limit your search to those results that show up on this first page. You absolutely want to start going to some of the other pages as well, because sometimes companies who do private label products, they're not very good at search engine optimization. So they don't focus on showing up on the first page of Google or second or third. So you'll find a lot of great opportunities on the other results down the other pages. So I'm going to go to the next page. So here's another company, private label shampoo suppliers. If I would have stuck to the first page, wouldn't have seen them. Let's pull them up as well. And just going to keep going down. Here's another one, organic private label skincare. Maybe they have, in addition to beauty products, they have also some shampoos. Let's check them out. And I got enough up here to get going with, but that's how you do a search on Google and pull up a whole bunch of listings for us to check out. Now let's go see which ones we might be interested in contacting. So this one just says private label beauty, and we're on the contact us screen. So there's not a lot of information on this page, but it might just be that we went straight to this link on their contact us. Let's see if we can find some more information. If we need it, here is their email address, here is their phone number, but let's go try and see if we can get some more information. So Argan Oil series. Let's click on that because I believe these were the type of shampoo we saw. Moroccan hair serum, Argan oil shampoo. That is similar to the product we're looking at. Let's go over here and look at it. Advanced therapy system with premium organic argan oil. So this might be a company that we would want to check out. They do make argan oil shampoo. Let's see, argan oil hair conditioner. So let's click on this. If there's any more information on here we can find. Looks like they got a lot of certifications, FDA, GMO free. That's great. So we can read about that here, and then we can also just contact them. Now there's no pricing information. You will find that when you are researching companies in the United States, it's not often that you will get direct private label pricing information right on their website. On Alibaba, we can oftentimes get some pretty good numbers and estimates for that. For some reason, just because there's no centralized website that gathers all that information in the United States, they just don't offer that on their own individual websites. So we will have to reach out and contact these companies, and that's totally fine. Let me continue scrolling down. I'm going to read all the information here about this if we wanted to, but this definitely sounds like it could be a potential supplier. So let's go back to the contact us. We would contact or copy the email address. And if we were going to include that on our product opportunity spreadsheet, that's what we put in there. I might also include the phone number, and then I would also put in the website address. So let's go to the next one as well. So this is Genesis Be the brand. Let's see. So this one has a whole section on private label. Let's go look at that. And this talks about their entire private labeling program. Good information. Looks like this is someone that we definitely want to reach out to as well. So I click here to find out. This one walks you through a survey. That's an interesting idea. But I guess we could go through that survey or directly contact them. And there's the contact us link. Let's see. There it is. So there's their information. This is where they're located in Pennsylvania. There's their email, and then there is their phone number. So we can contact them directly through email, or we could use this form right here. But this would be another company that we'd want to reach out to, let them know who we are. They're interested in private labeling in organic shampoo, to see if we can get some options from them, such as minimum order quantities and pricing. And when we contact them, we would use the templates that you'll find below this video. And I'll show you how to do that when we get to the Alibaba search, but it's exactly the same. You would just send an email with the information that we will be including in those messages. So we'd simply repeat this process for the other results we found on Google. Remember, I opened those tabs up above. You would look at each one of these websites, read through them, make sure they look like good potential private label opportunities for us, and then contact them using the initial supplier contact message below. I'm not going to go through all these because once we went through a couple, you get the idea. But what I am going to do before we switch over to sourcing products directly on Alibaba, I want to pull up the Google link that actually pulled up and led us to Alibaba for organic shampoo. And here it is right there. So when I did our Google search, remember I clicked on the Alibaba link and saved this tab. This is what came up. It does not lead to a specific company or to a specific product. It actually leads to a search on Alibaba themselves for private label organic shampoo, and it pulls up a whole bunch of products. So this is interesting. We can work with this, but as I look down, the first results that show up are all located not in the United States. They are in China, and I want to look for products in the United States. So let's go up and let's do some filtering. Let's filter on companies that are in the United States. And it does pull some up. So as we go down here, I'm seeing 3 different products come up. This one, cosmetics made in the United States. This one is a dog shampoo, so probably don't want to contact them. This one over here looks like hair care products with argan oil. That's great. That's exactly what we're looking for. Let's click on them and see if there's more information about them. The port is Atlanta, Georgia. And let's make sure that they really are manufactured in the United States. Down here, here's where it says they are made in USA. That's great. And I also noticed their minimum order quantity, 200 units. That's great. What an awesome small order to get going with. So this would be a company that I would want to reach out to. I would click on the supply contact or contact supplier button, or if I scroll down, I can see that down here as well. This is sending a message to the supplier. This is where we would cut and paste in the initial supplier contact message. I would customize it with my information and the product we're looking for, and then I would tweak it a little bit to make it my own, and then I would send this to the supplier in order to start that conversation. Now let's go look how to source products directly from China using Alibaba. So we're back over on our product opportunity spreadsheet. And what I'm going to do then is going to walk you through sourcing the lightweight sleeping pad that we found. I'm not going to go through all of these because it's exactly the same process, but let's pull up that product so we know what it looks like, and that'll give us some other information that we may need. There's a good image of it. We see that there's the title, and let's go copy our keyword. The keyword that we're looking for is lightweight sleeping pad. We'll go straight over to Alibaba. I'm going to paste that in and do a search for it. And when I do that, I see 2,338 products shown on Alibaba. Way too many for us to sort through. Plus, remember, we want to really narrow down our search to only those suppliers that have the highest level of trust on Alibaba. So the filters that we're going to use. So the filters we'll be using are Trade Assurance and Gold Plus Supplier. But I also want to point out that on the left-hand side, you will see several other filters that you can feel free to use as well. You'll even see these exact same ones repeated over here, Trade Assurance, Gold Plus. You'll see the on-site checked one we talked about, but again, it doesn't do anything. So even though it's showing up, when I click on it, we still have 2,338 products shown. So it's not doing anything, but that's okay. We don't need it. And I only mention these other filters because feel free to experiment. If you only want to try to find products made in a certain country, you can check that box and it will limit it to just those countries. For example, if I check on Taiwan, we see 38 products that come from Taiwan. I'm going to uncheck that for now because I don't want to limit it to one country, but feel free to check these out, especially the minimum order quantity and price quantities. If you are very limited on your budget, that can come in very handy when you're trying to spend maybe $500 or only $1,000 for your first order. You can start doing the math and figure out which suppliers will work with you within your budget constraints. But for now, we're going to select Trade Assurance, which brings us down to 2,281, and then Gold Plus Supplier. And that brings us down to a much more manageable number of 361 products. Now, the next step is for us to start scrolling through all the results, checking out the pictures, the prices, the MOQ, and then for those that look to be comparable to the one that we're trying to source, you would open those up into another tab. Then you check out all the details to make sure it has all the features that you want. And if all that matches up, the price, the MOQ, the supplier looks reputable by the years they've been selling, and if the product features looks very similar, then you could contact those suppliers in order to get estimates from them and to make sure that they can private label the product for you. Now, before I do that, however, I want to also point out again this other filter up here where you could use a minimum order quantity. So if you know that you're very limited on funds for your first order, as many of us were, then you can use this to really pull up suppliers that are more than likely willing to work with you in your budget. So for example, I could pull up those that only offered a minimum order quantity of 100, and the price had to be somewhere, let's just say it couldn't be over $15 per unit. So at the max, I would be spending $1,500 on this order. Now you see I've went down to 110 products already. Now, normally I do not do this at the very beginning. I like to start off with without that kind of filtering because I want to see all the different products that are out there, knowing that I have a good chance of reaching out to these suppliers. And if I find a really great supplier and great product and they want a higher MOQ or a different price, I can at first try to negotiate with them to try to get one of those down. It's not always successful, especially when you're starting off. It is harder to negotiate because your negotiating capabilities really come into play after you've placed at least one order. Once they realize you are a legitimate seller and you're going to be growing and making more purchases, then they will work with you more. However, it doesn't hurt to try right now. But if you, after talking to several suppliers, realize that you just can't find a right price or minimum order quantity for any suppliers you talk to, feel free then to use this filtering right here to really pull up those suppliers that are much more likely to be able to work with you in your price range. But for now, I'm going to remove that filter simply by clearing it out and clicking OK. And we're going to start scrolling through the results here and finding a few that look like they might be good matches. So as I scroll down, I see one right here. This one may be a slightly different color of blue, but I don't really worry about colors because almost every supplier can make any color that you want. But I see here that their minimum order quantity is 300 pieces and their prices are anywhere from $13.98 to $14.38. So if I knew that I could afford that, then I'd want to check them out. So let's open them up. That puts them into a new tab. But before we start looking at that, let's go find two other ones as well. Gonna scroll down. This is an interesting one. One piece minimum order quantity. Usually that means if it's one piece that they're willing to let you buy a sample, and their price range is great, $5.20 to $5.30. Let's also open them up, and we'll be sure to check out their features to make sure that this really isn't a subpar quality product, but I definitely want to check them out. Let's go find one other product as well. And remember, I'm only on the very first tab. Chances are you want to scroll through and go through lots of different tabs in order to find at least a couple of different suppliers to reach out to. I'm just going to keep going down here. So here's one right here. This one looks like they have a lot of different colors shown right here. Only 100 minimum order quantity. Let's also check them out as well. Now, once I have all three of these tabs up, you can go check the details out on all of them. And something interesting that we're seeing here that you do not always see on Alibaba. You'll notice that on each one of these tabs, they are giving us the exact prices for each minimum order quantity. This is something fairly recent in Alibaba. You will not see it on every product. Normally, you have to contact the supplier to ask them for their MOQs, but this is a great way to see if you really can get the quantity you want at the price you want. So you can simply look at these 100 units to $4.99. They'll sell for $16.20. And then when you get all the way up to over 5,000 pieces, you save $1. Now that may not seem like a lot, but when you get to really large quantities, that can save you quite a bit. But early on, do not worry nearly much about your price for the low quantity you'll be ordering. It's really just to get in the game. I would much rather only have to order 100 units at $16.20 rather than saving $1 and ordering 1,000 units. Early on, that was not possible for me, and chances are it's not for you. So definitely go for the minimum order quantity that still gives you enough to sell and launch your product with and within your budget. Now, as I scroll down, you want to look at all these different products and check out the different features. You'll see all different kinds of features here, and this way you can actually compare them to the one that we're comparing against on Amazon. So let's take a look at this one. We notice that it's 2 inches thick. It has an R value of 1.3, which for this product tells you how warm it keeps you. It also is less than 16 ounces, and it packs down to something the size of 8 by 3 by 3. So let's go see if we can find those features on our Alibaba listings. So here's one right here. I'm going to scroll down. Let's see. I'm going to keep going. Oh, there we go. So this tells us the thickness is 2.2 inches. That's great. This also gives the overall length and width here. So we can go back and we can compare it. As a matter of fact, over here, we could probably find the entire length and width of this if we scroll down. So here we go. 73 by 21 by 2 when it's inflated, and this is 75 by 22, and we already know it's 2.2 ounces. So this product here is a little bit bigger, not much, so maybe it's not exactly the same, but for me, this would be close enough to the product that we're looking to source. And then if we go over to another one, we can probably find some of the similar information over here. Let's see if they're talking about, here we go. There's the size again, 73, 21 by 2. Oh, and this is great also. When it's rolled up, it's 8 inches by 3.5 inches. And remember on this product, we noticed they talked about that. It rolls up to 8 by 3 by 3. So these again are very similar in size. What we didn't see is anything about the R value, which is the warmth value of these products. So that would be something great to ask the supplier. What is the R value of these products? So once we've verified that the sample products that we pulled up on Alibaba are comparable to the one on Amazon, the next step then is to contact the suppliers. And here's what we'll do. I'm going to scroll back up to the top, and I'm going to click on the Contact Supplier button. Now, keep in mind that we're seeing prices for MOQs right here on this listing. We're not always going to see that, but if you do see that, you might want to adjust our supplier template accordingly. But I'll show you what I mean. Click on Contact Supplier. Then it brings up an email form for us. I am going to paste in our supplier contact template. There we go. It's all pasted in. Now I want to go in and start filling in the fields on here. I know that our supplier's first name is Doris Liu from the Wenzhou Kazai Outdoor Products Company. I'm just going to include her name on here. And then you want to put in your name as well. So my name is Mike McCleary, and I'm the owner of. Put in your company name here. If you don't have a company name yet officially, just put in what name you think you'll use for your company. The Great Camping Company. Then you talk a little bit about what your company does. I'm going to say we create outdoor products. So we're a company specializing in products for camping enthusiasts or something similar. All right, so we're looking to expand our line. You want to make sure that you ask these questions. Are you able to provide custom packaging? What color logo options do you have? What is the standard production time? Now, if you already know the prices for the MOQs you're listing here, you can leave this out and simply ask them what other questions that you have. Now I'm going to pretend like we don't have these different prices on this sheet because most suppliers won't have it. I'm going to leave them in. And then I'm also going to add in another question. Can you please tell me what the R value is for this sleeping pad? And then you want to go down there and leave these other questions in there about how many items come in a case, what are the dimensions each one, because that's going to really help you estimate shipping. And then the last thing is you want to customize this with your name, title, and company again. So Mike McCleary, owner, The Great Camping Company. And what you can do also, once you customize that, feel free to copy this, and I'm going to send my inquiry. But the reason I copied it is because then I can go back over to the other suppliers. I can click on Contact Supplier. I can paste it in and simply change their name here. So this looks like Dana Lau, and everything else should be the same. Now, again, remember, if I already know the MOQs, I can leave this whole part out, but I'm leaving it in for now. Then I would click on Send Inquiry for now. And once I've done that, then I just simply wait for usually about 24 to 48 hours, and you will get responses back from each of these suppliers. And you can either decide to ask them further questions based upon what they sent back to you, or if you don't get responses or you don't find you have the right prices or MOQs that you want, you can simply go back to your search all over again and then look for some other suppliers who hopefully can meet your own criteria. Now, once you start hearing back from these suppliers, you'll need to determine which ones sound like good potential suppliers for you, and then enter that information into your product opportunity spreadsheet. You don't have to enter information for every single supplier that you reached out to, but as you get those responses back, you read through them. For those that seem like they are good opportunities, then you want to capture that information on the tab for that product and start entering this type of information. Again, supplier name, contact, email, Skype, where they're located, their website if they have one, and then start capturing what they came back with you with, and also what the information with, such as their quotes and MOQ and such. So you want to start capturing those on each of these tabs so that way, in the next lesson, when we want to refer back to this information and calculate our true final costs and profits, it'll be easy for us to do that. So now you know exactly how to find and contact multiple suppliers for each of your product opportunities. So let's do that. Go start finding and contacting 5 to 10 suppliers for each of your 3 top product opportunities. And then in the next lesson, I'll show you how to better estimate your true profit so we can finally determine which products to order samples for. So once you've reached out and found those suppliers, I'll see you in the next lesson.